Hi and welcome to this screencast. In this screencast, we'll see how we can integrate Django with Amazon's S3 service. The first thing you need to do when you start off is to sign up for Amazon's S3 service. Do that, go to amazon.com and go to the Amazon S3 page and click this button, sign up for this web service. Once you've signed up for Amazon's S3 service, you'll receive an email containing your access key and your secret key. We'll need these later on. Next thing, we need to create a Django project. Let's say we've created one called AWS demo. Now I'm going to create an app and I'm going to call it gallery. What we're going to do is build a simple gallery application which will allow you to upload photos. The only difference is that instead of storing the photos locally, we'll store it on Amazon's S3 service. Okay, now having created this, let's edit our settings file and set up everything. I'm going to use SQLite for this demo and I'm just going to call it aws.db. Then we need to put in our access key and the secret key. I'm just going to call it passkey because we already have a variable called secret key. So both your access key and your secret key will be sent to you by email once you sign up for the S3 service. Then we can probably get rid of a few of these. For this we don't need session and authentication. And let's add our template directory. And finally, we are not using any of these, so let's just delete it. So that's our settings.py file. The only difference is that we've added two parameters here, the access key and passkey, which you need to fill up with your values which Amazon has sent to you. Okay, so let's close that and get on to doing the models. So I'm going to open galleries. Let's create our model. We'll just have one model here which I'm going to call photo URL. Although we're going to store the actual photo on Amazon's S3, we'll store some metadata here in our local database so that we don't have to query S3 for everything. So I'm going to let's have two fields. One is the URL. So once we upload something to S3, we'll store the URL here. And another one uploaded where we'll store the time of uploading. We'll use this field so that we can sort it and show the newest photos first. I'm also going to override the save method and I'll set the uploaded value here so that we don't have to do this in the view. And then we call the parent model save like so. And we also need to import date time. So that's going to be our model. For every photo we're going to store the URL and we're going to store the time it was uploaded. Right, so let's go on to the URLs. We're just going to have one URL here, which is the index page. So it's blank, then we'll just go to our gallery index page. Like so. Okay, so I'm going to sync the DB. And start the server. And let's see if it's working. Okay, now to create the views. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to show a form and a list of photos. The user can upload some photo using the form, and then once uploaded, we'll display the photo. So I'm going to create a form here. And we'll just have one field. So let's start out with this, and let's create this index.html template. Now I've already got this index.html over here, so instead of typing it out again, I'm just going to copy it over. Let's have a look. This simple HTML page with some styling. This is our form where we display our upload form. Here I have some text about the demo, and then we just loop through the photos and display the photo URL for each photo, right? So that is when we have some photos to display. Right now we don't. Okay, let's reload this now that we have a view. No, we have an error. Okay. So this is what our page looks like. This is the upload form that we just created. Over here on the right side, we're going to display the photos that we've uploaded, and this is some short text about the demo. Now that we have the form, let's start processing it. So if it's not a post request, we display an empty form, else we'll validate the form. Since we have file uploading, we need to pass request.files as well. If it's not valid, we'll go back to the template. Now if we have a look at this, we are also displaying the existing photos in the same page. So we need to get a list of photos. Just import it. and we are ordering it by uploaded, so the newest photos come first. Let's just pass this into the template as well. Of course, at this moment we don't have any photos to display, so if we reload the page, we're still going to get the same blank page. So we've handled two cases. If it's not a post request, that is, we're coming to the page for the first time, we display an empty form, else we check the validation. If it's invalid, we display the form again. So now if the form is valid, what we need to do is take our data and store it into S3. So this is the crux of the whole application. So we'll first take out our data. Our field is called file, and it's a file field, so it will be stored in request.files, not request.post. So we get it. This itself is a dictionary, so we can say file of file name. That will give us the file name of the file and the content. Now that we have the file name and the content, we can now store this into S3. I'm just going to create a function here called store in S3. Pass the file name and the content. Let's assume that we've just written it, and then we get the latest photos. And after storing it, we also need to save it into our local database. So we create this with this URL. We look at this URL in a short while. We save it into our local database, get the new list of photos, which includes the one we've just saved, and then go back to our page. Okay, so store in S3 is a function that we need to write now, and really this is the key of the whole application. The rest of it is just standard Django. So I'm going to create a function here, just a local function. You could probably put this out into some library or so. And here we have to put in our code, which will actually take our photo and send it off to S3. Now to do this, I'm going to use the Boto library. Boto is a Python library for Amazon Web Services. It includes support for various web services, of which S3 is one. So we're going to use that. I'm going to start off by importing the classes I need. So S3 connection is a class which holds how we connect with Amazon Web Services. It handles the authentication, all that. And key is another class which identifies how we access files in S3. So S3 is a simple flat storage structure. You create a key, and for that key you can store any data, and later on you retrieve the data by using the key. You can think of it like a huge Python dictionary. You just store values associated with keys, and later out you can pull them back out again. S3 also has another concept called buckets, which is nothing but allows you to partition your data into separate containers. So for now we're just going to use one bucket. If you have 2-3 sites, for example, which use the same S3 account, you might want to put them in separate buckets, or 2-3 apps within the site, things like that. Right, so first we create a connection now. For this we're going to use our S3 class. and I'm also going to import settings. Remember, we set the access key and the secret pass key in the settings. We're going to use that now. So to this connection we pass the access key and the pass key. This creates a connection to S3. Next we need to create a bucket. So we have a function called create bucket. I'm going to call it Siddhartha files. You can give it any name. The only thing is it has to be globally unique, which means if any other Amazon user has the same name, it won't work. And this bucket Siddhartha files is what gets used here. So this is the bucket name .s3.amazon.com, and then anything after that is the key name. In this case we are just going to use the file name. So we created the bucket. What this does is, if the bucket doesn't exist, it creates a new one. Otherwise it just searches for the existing one and returns that. Having done that, we create a key on this bucket. Then we set the key to the file name, and we can set some metadata. So what I'm going to do is set the content type metadata. Now how do we find the content type? For that we're going to use the MIME types module. And we'll use that to guess the content type. So what this does is, based on the file name, it guesses the content type. So if it ends with JPG, for example, it will create a MIME type of image/JPEG. Then I set the contents. And then I set the access control. So I say public read, which means anybody can read it, but you have to be authenticated to write to it. And that's basically it. So let's save the file. Let's go back, reload, and let's try uploading a photo. And there you go. We've just uploaded a photo. It's displayed here. This photo is not stored locally, it's stored on Amazon S3. So how do we know it's stored on Amazon S3? I have here S3 Fox, which is a Firefox plugin for S3. I've set up my account, so you can see here Siddhartha files. This is the bucket, and if I go inside this bucket, you can see all the files that have been uploaded. Also, if I copy image location, we can see that this URL is not pointing to my local system, it's pointing to S3, siddharthafiles.s3.amazon.aws.com / our file name here. Let's try uploading another one. Yep, so there we go. All the files which we have uploaded, they're displayed as images here. So the strategy we're using is, we've created a local model which holds the URLs. We are taking our photo which we have uploaded, and instead of saving it locally, we are saving it remotely on Amazon S3. We save the URL in our database, and then to display this, we get a list of all the URLs from the database and then display them with the URLs pointing to S3. So that pretty much wraps up the screencast. In later screencasts, we'll look at how we can do more with Amazon Web Services and Django. But for this screencast, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it.